Next up, we're going to hear from Christine Quigley. Christine, come on up. And again, Christy's going to talk about Drawdown Local Climate Solutions, and she works with the Science and Environment Council in the Sarasota Bay NEP. And she has an interdisciplinary background in environmental science and management with experience in startup consulting and community outreach. And thank you, Christine. Take it away.
Thank you. And thank you, Tim, for kind of setting us up. It's really important to remember kind of what we're up against as we start to look at some of these solutions. And so I'm going to kind of take us to a bit of a local scale and talk about a couple projects that the Science and Environment Council is working on, and then look at ways that we all, as a community and as individuals, can help kind of move into this community solution space. So for those of you who are not familiar, the Science and Environment Council is a coalition of about 32 different local groups that are working on environmental understanding. They're working on increasing conservation and restoration. And they do that, so it's a mix of nonprofits, government agencies, and universities. And we use collaborative education opportunities to kind of bring this movement forward. And so let's see, a second. Oh, here we go, sorry. So back in April of 2017, the Science and Environment Council held a climate workshop for its members to kind of gauge whether or not there was interest in creating a group that would specifically focus on climate, and in the hopes that it would kind of move us forward and accelerate some of the action around this issue. So the Climate Council was created as a result of that workshop, and it was really created in a way that would help all of these organizations and municipalities collaborate around shared projections, collaborate and create shared messaging, unified messaging, and then facilitate partnerships across different sectors and across different municipalities. And so within the Climate Council, the idea was to form different working groups that would work on things like planning or education or science. And so right now the education working group is up and running. It's been meeting pretty regularly. And one of the efforts that came out of it was this climate education survey, where we sent out questions to a bunch of different organizations that are working in Sarasota and Manatee counties. And we had about 34 organizations respond. And this was for us to kind of get a sense of, all right, what's the current status of climate education? Is anyone talking about it? How are they doing it? And so we found that a lot of people are already providing some sort of climate information, about 80%. But it was interesting that of all of the organizations surveyed, only half of those are talking internally about a larger kind of organization level strategy for this kind of outreach. Common target audiences included the general public, families, policymakers, and seniors. And we also found that there was a bit of a gap in some of these inclusion and accessibility principles. So less than 20% of these organizations were making materials in different languages, and very few of them were targeting underrepresented groups. In terms of needs and gaps, we found an underlying theme that there's a need to take what we're hearing on a global and a national level and translate that into what does that mean for Sarasota in terms of sea level rise or changes in precipitation. We found the need for more local stories and impacts to kind of demonstrate that these things are happening now and it's happening to us and our neighbors. We found the need to move out of the kind of doom and gloom space into looking at actions and looking at solutions and giving people concrete examples of things that they can do. And then having variety of information available in different kinds of materials, so infographics and brochures, videos, that sort of thing. And then we also found that there was a need for funding. So taking some of the results of this survey, the next steps for the Climate Council, we're actively seeking funding to create a video series on local stories and impacts. And this one on the left is an example from Climate Wisconsin. They're a group and they've made about a dozen videos that take a look at different examples of how climate is impacting their citizens. So from heat and health to economic issues to the skier down on the right, it's, I guess, it's one of the largest or the largest cross-country skiing event in North America. So this was something that affected their recreation, their economy. And so coupled with this video series, we also want to look at digital and printed resources that kind of feed off of these messages, and then also provide communications training and workshops. We heard earlier today how important it is to talk about this issue, and so this is something we want to allow people to practice and try at a community level. So one of the other projects that the Science and Environment Council and the Climate Council within the SEC is working on, or has worked on, was the Drawdown event with Paul Hawken, and this was a group effort, and thank you to a lot of the people who are here who helped make this happen. We brought him into Sarasota to talk about his book, and for those of you who are not familiar, he analyzes the 100 most effective climate solutions, and it was compiled by a slew of industry experts from around the world. And so for each solution, he looks at not only how much carbon does it sequester, how much emissions does it reduce, but how much does it cost, and how much are we going to save with this solution. So quick side note, these books are for sale in the back. If you don't have your copy yet, come see me afterwards. I have a bunch. And so within the solutions, he kind of breaks it up into 7 categories. And in case you can't read those, it's buildings and cities, energy generation, food, land use, materials, transport, and women and girls. And so for this event, we took those 7 categories and we created 7 different tables with examples of what people can do locally to help get involved with these solutions. So we had tables talking about renewable energy, talking about composting, land use, buying native trees, and that sort of thing. So this is something that this conversation started, I think, with Lee Hayes at the Environmental Summit. It continued with this Drawdown event, and we want to continue having this conversation today, here and tomorrow, and at other events. And so at lunchtime, you were asked to go look at these charts up around the room. These are solutions taken from the Drawdown book that some of them were tweaked to be more locally relevant, but these are some of the most effective ways that we can all get involved in climate solutions. So if you have time today, or if you haven't already, they're on the tables. Feel free to take these home. We have a survey up because we are interested. Oh, here we go. Ooh. We're interested in knowing what you want to work on as individuals, and if there's anything that we can rally around as a community. We'll use this feedback to help prioritize what information we send out and where potential future funding can go. And so it looks like, so these are some of the examples today. If you guys want to jump on, I've got about 3 minutes left. Go ahead and jump on menti.com. The code is 246732. And of the categories, you can tell us which one you're interested in working on. So it looks like buildings and cities and food, the blue and the green, are the most popular, followed by women and girls in the gray. So let's go to the next one. What solutions would you like to see the community focus on? It looks like land use, improving energy efficiency, better transportation, reducing plastics, global warming. These are all really great answers, and that will help us as we move forward with the Climate Council initiatives. And I think there was one more question. Yeah, so what are the biggest challenges? Mindset, ignorance, lack of will, funding, land use, sustainable energy regulations. These are great. This will really help us continue this conversation. And with that, I will end my time.
Thank you, Christine. Appreciate it. Good job. You have a seat over there by Tim.